Coming up today, ministerial level officials from the two Koreas are set to meet for the first time in 8 years. Both sides have agreed that nothing should be off the table. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un claims his scientists have developed a hydrogen bomb, which packs more of a punch than an atomic bomb. Plus, President Park Geun-hye says the creation of decent, stable and well-paying jobs is the key to raising South Korea's low birth rate. Stay tuned for these stories and more. Hello and welcome. It's 6 a.m. on Friday, December 11th here in Seoul. I'm Mark Broom and you're tuned in to our early morning edition of Arirang News. Our top story this morning, South and North Korea will hold their first ministerial level talks since 2007 later today. For more on the key agenda items, our Unification Ministry correspondent Song Ji-son reports.
Everything is ready for the first high-level talks between the two Koreas in 8 years. South Korea will be represented by Unification Vice Minister Hwang Bok-lee and 2 other officials. His counterpart from the north is Chun Jong-soo, who, like Hwang, has a great deal of experience with inter-Korean exchanges. The delegation from Seoul will depart for Kaesong Industrial Complex at 8 a.m. on Friday, and the two sides will sit down at 10:30 Seoul time, when each side will outline their priorities. Seoul's focus will be on arranging for regular reunions for war-separated families, while Pyongyang will likely demand resumption of a tour program to Mount Kumgang Resort as a prerequisite.
Seoul's stance on resuming the Mount Kumgang tour program will be key, but it will be difficult for the two sides to narrow their differences during this initial round. The talks can be considered a success if the two sides set a date for the next talks to keep the momentum going.
The two sides have decided not to put limits on the topics up for discussion after Seoul proposed last month that all outstanding issues should be covered. Given that, the first round of talks is likely to continue on tonight, if not for another day or two. Song Ji-son, Arirang News.
Now, in a dramatic announcement, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un says his country has developed a hydrogen bomb or a thermonuclear bomb, a device even more destructive than an atomic bomb. Sounds concerning, but according to our Gwon-swa, most experts are not that convinced, especially given the timing of the announcement.
North Korea is in possession of a hydrogen bomb. That's what North Korean leader Kim Jong-un said, according to Pyongyang state media Thursday. The Korean Central News Agency said he made the remark during an inspection of an arms plant in Pyongyang. He was quoted as saying North Korea has managed to become a great nuclear power capable of defending the independence and dignity of the state. Experts say this is the first time Kim has ever mentioned a hydrogen bomb, as opposed to his more frequent statements on the regime's nuclear weapons capabilities. With the H-bomb, they believe the North is merely in the early stages of development.
The power of a hydrogen bomb is measured in megatons. Even advanced countries do not possess them. It will also be difficult to test them so close to China, as they will have to do it underground, but extremely deep, so that's also regarded as impossible.
A government official said there is no evidence on Pyongyang having developed nor having the technology to build an H-bomb, adding Kim's remarks seem to be words of rhetoric. Some say it could be the opening gambit ahead of a round of high-level inter-Korean talks on Friday.
The show of its military capabilities could be an indirect way of pressuring South Korea and a move to lead the talks.
Professor Kim also said the move could be seen as a way to manipulate the media or a gesture to start talks with the U.S. and the international community. Although the existence of an H-bomb in North Korea leaves room for doubt, the regime does appear to have made progress on its main missile launch site. According to the U.S. website 38 North, satellite imagery suggests construction of new propellant bunkers at a launch pad in the northwest of North Korea are close to completion. 38 North said this may indicate the end of a 3-year program to upgrade the site, which could mean Pyongyang could be ready to launch larger rockets by early next year. Gwon-swa, Arirang News.
And staying with that story, the United States and Russia are treating North Korea's claim that it possesses a hydrogen bomb with skepticism. The White House says it doubts Pyongyang has developed the weapons. At a regular briefing on Thursday local time, White House spokesman Josh Earnest said the U.S. was concerned about the intent and destabilizing actions of the North Korean regime, but stressed Kim Jong-un's claims were highly questionable. Russia shared a similar view. Kremlin officials said the North's claims are likely nothing more than a bluff. The officials, noting that Kim has made similar false claims before, said it was literally impossible in this modern day to develop a hydrogen bomb without the world knowing first. President Park Geun-hye is calling for greater efforts to boost job creation, saying a lack of decent jobs is partly responsible for the nation's extremely low birth rate. Hwang Sang-hee reports.
President Park has called for stronger effort to tackle Korea's low birth rate, blaming the situation on late marriages and a job shortage.
지난 10년간 출산율 감소의 가장 큰 원인은 초혼 연령의 상승에 따른 만혼화 현상입니다.
Korea's fertility rate stood at 1.2 in 2014, one of the lowest in the OECD. The country has spent some $68 billion in the last decade to raise the figure to 2.1, a rate that would keep the population stable. At a meeting on Thursday, President Park also called for greater job creation efforts, making a note of the government's push for labor reform.
노동시장의 이중 구조를 개선하며 근로시간 단축을 통해서 정규직 일자리를 늘리는데 기성세대와 모든 경제 주체들이 함께 노력해야 합니다.
President Park said many young people are hesitant to get married due to the high cost of living and called for measures to address this issue. But, she said, government efforts alone will not be enough to resolve the problems associated with the low birth rate and aging population.
모든 사회 구성원들의 인식과 관행, 문화가 바뀔 때 제도가 효과를 발휘하고 정착될 수 있을 것입니다.
Wrapping up the meeting, President Park said the most important thing is putting the plans into action, and she called on officials to continue listening to the voices of the people. Hwang Sang-hee, Arirang News.
Now, in years gone by, Koreans are expected to be married and bringing up children by the time they're in their 30s. But it seems those days are behind us now, with many young Koreans believing tying the knot and starting a family is not the be-all and end-all. Oh Se-young reports.
It appears that young Koreans are less inclined to walk down the aisle. The so-called echo boomer generation refers to the offspring of the baby boomers in their mid-20s to mid-30s. And a report from Statistics Korea found that this generation is inching away from traditional family values.
I don't think marriage is a must. I think it could limit my career and future dreams.
I don't think it's necessary to get married. These days, it's hard to get a job and a stable income, so marriage could be rather burdensome.
Compared to almost 70% of baby boomers who believed marriage was indispensable, 1 in 2 echo boomers don't think it's necessary. Instead, 62% of the younger generation approve of sharing a home before marriage.
Some of my friends still worry about what others might think, but I think cohabitation is a good thing.
I see cohabitation positively. It's better to test out living together before marriage and go separate ways if things don't work out.
The size of an average family in Korea has shrunk since the 1970s and 80s. Without many family members and enjoying more economic affluence than the previous generation, the younger generation has become less inclined to start their own families. They have become more independent.
These changes in social perception correlate with the echo boomers' growing insecurities about their lives. With Korea's labour market hitting a record number of non-regular workers this year, young people are more worried than ever about unemployment and falling into poverty. More than half are also pessimistic about securing a home and being able to pay their rent. These worries about the future, coupled with their general shift away from traditional values, are raising concerns regarding Korea's falling birth rate, which is already one of the lowest in the world. To counter the waning sense of social security, experts say that further welfare initiatives are needed, supporting childcare for working women and promoting family-centric values. Oh Se-young, Arirang News.
Now, Korea's parliamentary speaker did not mince his words on Thursday, telling lawmakers from both sides of the political aisle to stop bickering and get down to the task at hand, namely passing some crucial economy-related bills. Now, a number of bills continue to gather dust at the National Assembly after the rival parties failed to pass them during the regular session, which ended earlier this week. Park Ji-won reports.
National Assembly Speaker Chung Eui-hwa has called for real change on the part of lawmakers from the two main rival parties, urging them to focus on their legislative duties and return parliamentary operations to normal.
This is an abnormal situation, and it's being repeated. Instead of efforts towards communication, accusations are the only things in abundance.
Speaking in Parliament on Thursday afternoon, the Speaker also said party members need to take off their tinted lenses when evaluating the bills pushed by the other side.
The rival parties need to drop their obsolete ideological prejudices against the bills being pushed by the other party. They're seeing each other's bills as something that will either help conglomerates and the privileged, or something that goes against the market.
The list of pending bills that's considered urgent by the government and the ruling party includes a series of labor reform bills, the Service Industry Promotion Act, and the Counterterrorism Act. The main opposition party is in favor of a bill that aims to foster cooperative associations and another that would facilitate cooperation between conglomerates and small and medium-sized companies. However, due to the stand-up between the rival parties, none of the bills have been fully reviewed in committee. Speaker Chung said the Assembly is at risk of being rated the worst ever and again urged lawmakers to move the bills forward. He also said the Assembly should finish the task of redrawing Korea's electoral map once and for all by next Tuesday, with registration for candidates hoping to run in the upcoming April general elections begins. Park Ji-won, Arirang News.
The United States has confirmed that 3 Islamic State leaders, including the group's finance chief, have been killed in an airstrike. The U.S. Special Presidential Envoy for Global Coalition to Counter ISIL, Brett McCurk, tweeted within the last few hours or so that Abu Saleh was killed late last month in Iraq, along with 2 associates. Another U.S. defense official said Saleh was one of the most senior and experienced members of the group's financial network. For the past few weeks, the United States has been targeting trucks used by ISIS to smuggle oil as part of a campaign to disrupt the ability of the group to generate funds to support its operation. The United Nations has projected the world economy to grow by just 2.4% this year. In its annual World Economic Situation and Prospects report released on Thursday, the world body said its forecast for global economic growth in 2015 had been cut by 0.4 percentage points, largely due to lower commodity prices, increased market volatility and slow growth in emerging market economies. It did add, however, that there will be a slight pickup in the years to come. The report projected growth in developed economies will gain some momentum next year, reaching 2.9% in 2016 and 3.2% in 2017. The full report will be available in January. Now, Korea's capital has a new slogan to entice visitors from overseas, and it's fair to say it hasn't gone down universally well. That said, the city has vowed to stick by I, Seoul, You. Kim Ji-yeon reports.
The Seoul metropolitan government has vowed to promote its new slogan, I, Seoul, You. It has already spent about $1.2 million on a public campaign to select the new slogan. And on Thursday, it says it plans to set aside an additional $1.9 million for promotional efforts for next year. For example, the city will hold a concert next fall on October 28th to mark Seoul Citizens Day. The city government says it expects the rebranding campaign to boost tourism and jobs, which is what happened in Singapore in 2010.
Singapore saw an annual 20% increase after changing its slogan from Uniquely Singapore to Your Singapore. Similarly, in Korea, the rebranding will help the capital city achieve its goal of attracting 20 million tourists and becoming one of the world's top 3 cities for conventions and exhibitions. People are already using it to promote local food products such as I Hoppangyu and I Peperoyu.
The official adds the new catchphrase is better than the previous one since it's more visually appealing. Seoul selected the new slogan through a public contest to replace its previous one, High Seoul, which had been in use for 13 years after its adoption in 2002. Kim Ji-yeon, Arirang News.
Well, that's all we have for now on this Friday morning here in Seoul. Thank you as always for watching. We'll be back throughout the day with more newscasts. Goodbye.